What's up, Totem Pole? This is Lambo and Matt's World of Sports. That's Lambo. I'm Matt. This is the post week 9 top 5 NFL teams. We've been doing this since week 4. We've had some weeks where we've been very, very similar. We've had some weeks where he called my list the worst list ever made. We'll see where we are this week. We'll see the disagreements and agreements. We'll get into it. But first, like, comment, subscribe. And as always, thank you to Sideline Sports Network for the platform. Let's get into it.
All right. My stuff is coming up. Now, number 5 team. All right. Number 5 team that everybody needs to watch out for on my W list. Pop it up. My number 5 team is the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty. They have been healthy as ever. They're on a 4-game winning streak ever since the bad loss to the Tennessee Titans. I get it. Joe Burrow already has 1,861 yards passing. Now, they only average, now I understand their offense is still mid-tier. They only average 216 passing yards, which is 18th in the league. They're last in rushing yards. Points against is 12th. I get it. But they're improving. Their defense is improving since last year. Joe Burrow is healthy. Jamar Chase is always wide open. It's not really much to say about this. This team is on the roll, and I know next week they play the Texans, but do not sleep on those Texans. But I get it. I am more confident in Joe Burrow long-term just because when it hits the playoffs, they might have a chance to beat those Kansas City Chiefs. Now, number 4 on my list. Number 4 on the W list, I am going to take camera roll. Number 14, I am going to take those Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, Jacksonville Jaguars. Do you see the coaching couple right here? Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. I understand Doug Peterson got fired from Philly because, he wrote a book and he wanted to be the smartest man alive. But remember, last season Jacksonville was 3-7, and they made the playoffs, and then they were down 27-0 against the Chargers. Then they came back and beat them. And then a game against the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously, even though they lost, they made it a close game. Now, this year, I get it. They started off the season very, very slow. They put up 9 points against a very, very good Chiefs defense, but their defense held them to only 17 points. So the defense is improving. Jacksonville was on a previous bye week this week. They're on a 5-game winning streak. Like I said, I like Trevor Lawrence. He has a very bright future in the NFL. Doug Peterson is doing excellent. Do not be surprised if Jacksonville Jaguars upset the Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs. Do not be surprised. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying do not be surprised when that happens. Now, number 3 on my list, and I got to keep the list fluid. Number 3 that I'm going to put is, give it to me. Number 3 on the list is those Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, I understand they beat the Dolphins, who can't beat anybody with winning records. I understand. I understand that Pat Mahomes is one of the greatest quarterbacks we have right now. I get it. But there's 2 other teams that are more consistent than them. And there's one of the team that's consistent all around. Now, that bad loss against the Denver Broncos, I understand it's post-week 9, but that bad loss against the Denver Broncos, I had to drop them just a little bit. Now, the receivers need some help, a lot of help. Travis Kelce didn't get a lot of catches. They won the game against the Dolphins on defense, basically. The run game needs to improve a little bit more. They're not really good at running the ball. They can run it, but it's not good enough. They're a pass-first team. My concerns into the playoffs is I'm not concerned if they can win. I'm just concerned when they really need to run the ball in crunch time, can they do it? Because everybody's going to know by the time the playoffs hits that the Chiefs are going to be able to throw the ball. And can the receiver step up besides just Travis Kelce? Everybody else on the receiver core has to step up for the Chiefs. I get it. They're 7-2. I'm not shaming them. I'm just not that confident in them right now just because the receivers just keep dropping the balls. Now, number 2 team. Number 2. Give it to me. Number 2. This team is on a bye week this week. All right? But they beat the Dallas Cowboys, but barely. I understand I picked the Cowboys to win. The Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the defense is still suspect. They got injuries, a lot of injuries on defense, and they still are 8-1, which is what the best record they have right now in the NFC and basically in the league because everybody else is 7-2. I like Jalen Hurts. He's still up there with the interceptions. Their run game is very great. Nick Sirianni is in the second year. And surprisingly, he's shocking all of us, even though you don't like to hear. He's shocking all of us because they're very, very consistent on offense. But the defense of struggles might affect them later on. I understand they made the Super Bowl, obviously. But at the end of the day, the Eagles are up there at number 2. Now, my number 1 team on all of the lists, you got to bring it. You got to give it to me. My number 1 team is the Baltimore Ravens. Yes, the Baltimore Ravens are the most complete and efficient team in all of NFL. It's popping up in a second. If it doesn't, do not worry about it. All right? I trust the Ravens. I trust Lamar Jackson. They're very effective. They're very fast-paced. New offensive coordinator Todd Monken, who came from Georgia. They could throw the ball. Odell Beckham got his first touchdown on his birthday last Sunday. I get it. The Ravens defense is very, very elite. In all 3 phases of the game, the Ravens are good on offense, defense, and special teams. They are the most complete team in all of the NFL. And I'm telling you something. I understand only won 2 playoff games since 2015, but this Ravens defense and what they did in Seattle, which Seattle did make the playoffs last year, but what they did to them last week, only holding the 3 points and made Geno look pretty bad, even though he's a good quarterback. He made Geno look like a rookie. I'm trying to tell you, that Ravens defense is stacked and is loaded. Those are my top 5 of the W list. You can go ahead and continue your list.
All right. So I will say that our lists are pretty similar, but I'm starting it off with the Niners. They were on a bye. They're getting healthier. You can see the stats in front of you with Brock and with Christian McCaffrey. He's still the best running back in the league. The defense is getting healthier. The offense will have Debo back. It will have Trent Williams back. It will have Brock back, not being concussed. I, talked about it last week, why I still had them on my list. I obviously had them at 4. You can see the arrow downwards means they've dropped 1 spot since last week. And that's because a team, I feel like, that beat them played well again. They deserve to be above them. But I still think that you give me the Niners versus almost any other team in this league tomorrow. I'm taking the Niners, except for the 4 teams above them, obviously. The defense is still one of the best in the league. The offense, when healthy, is one of the best in the league with the best running back in the league. A quarterback that, again, when he's not concussed, is not someone that's losing you games, and you'll have one of the best tackles in football back. You'll have Debo, who's one of the best weapons in football back from injury. Brandon Ayuk has emerged as a true wide receiver, 1A, 1B. So, I know that there's some resistance with it because they were on a losing streak, but I'm taking those injuries into account, and this team is going to be healthy next week, and a healthy Niners team, I think, is one of the scariest rosters in the league. Now, I got the Bengals at 4. All right. So, which means I'm sorry, your Jags are not on my top 5. But that's all right. All right. That's all right. It's all right. I didn't have them top 5 last week, and they were on a bye. So I think it would be a little crazy if I bumped them into my top 5 after seeing nothing from them. So that's why they're still. I told you they were at 7. Now they're at 6. That's cool, but they're not my top 5. Look, Joe has completely turned it around from what we saw at the beginning of the year. I drafted him in 2 fantasy leagues, named my team after him, had to bench him. Completely flipped that. He's back in the starting lineup for everybody, and he's back to being one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You can see the numbers in front of you. That's with the first 3 games of the year being absolutely awful, and he's gotten the numbers back up to, being middle of the pack instead of at the bottom, which is where he was for those first 3 weeks statistically. He was legitimately a bottom 3 quarterback in the league, and he's already got the recovery up to middle of the pack. By the end of the year, I'd see him back in the top 10 in most categories. And then you look at Jamar Chase. After he said that he was always open, he's proven that. Joe has been getting him the ball more and more, and this defense is waking up. They're showing out consistently week in, week out, and that's why they have earned their spot onto the top 5 after not being ranked thus far. Next up, the Chiefs at the 3 spot. I'm with you, everything you said, your justification for having them at the 3. I understand that they just beat a very good Miami team, but that Miami team seems incapable of beating a good football team in general. Pat is up there with the interceptions, but you got to see what he's working with. Travis Kelce is his wide receiver 1, which, he kind of has been in years past, but he also had Tyreek Hill. He had MVS, who was, actually making an impact. He had McCole Hardman actually making an impact, and we haven't seen any of those guys show up this year. And obviously Tyreek has been in Miami for 2 years. So it's up to Travis this year to be, the main guy, and he's doing what he can. But last week he only had 3 catches, and the offense just looks inconsistent. The defense is what's keeping them afloat. It's what is keeping them at the 3 spot on my list. The defense is just so legit, easily the best defense Patrick Mahomes has had. So, I'm comfortable with them, beating most teams in the league. I think regardless of how inconsistent the offense is, when it comes down to crunch time, there's really no one else in the league you trust more than Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. So they're the number 3 spot on my list. Number 2, Philadelphia Eagles, the damn birds. All right. They've dropped 1 spot from last week. That's after a win. So I understand, you could be upset with that if you wanted to. But I did say last week when they were at 1 and Baltimore was at 2, I said you could flip them if you wanted to. You can take a guess at who's at 1, but I will continue with the Eagles for right now. The run game last week was the first week that we've seen it, kind of not show up. And it was against the Cowboys, who this year have been good at stopping the run against, good teams. They stopped CMC. They stopped DeAndre Swift. They stopped Austin Eckler. So it's not all on them, but it is a reason that I dropped them down from 1 to 2. They didn't, show up, and that was the strength of the team. But you saw Jalen Hurts go crazy as a passer. And that's why he was in the MVP conversation last year. His passing numbers are up again this year. That obviously comes with those interceptions, though, so you can weigh that as you will. But he's top 10 in every other category. And then A.J. Brown is the second best receiver in football this year behind Tyreek. And you could make the argument. I mean, I personally wouldn't. But, the argument is to be made that he's the best receiver in football right now. So, this team is rolling. The defense, like you said, is a little suspect in certain areas, but they are working with injuries. But, it's halfway into the NFL season, so everyone's working with injuries. They're good, dude. They just find ways to win scrappy games. They did it all last year, and they're doing it again this year. As painful as it is for me to admit as a Cowboys fan, I have to give them their credit. They're the number 2 team in the league. Number 1, though, should be number 1 for everybody. Baltimore Ravens, like you said, are the most complete team in the NFL. Lamar Jackson is looking like an MVP. And I didn't involve his rushing stats this week because Gus Edwards has established himself as the running back one for this squad, tied for third in the league in rushing touchdowns. He's up into the top 15 in rushing yards, and that's without having a lot of the volume for the first 4-ish weeks. It was a lot of splitting back there. And since he's established himself as running back one, he's overtaken Lamar when it comes to rushing yards on the team. Lamar was leading that category for like half the season. And, it's helping when it comes to the passing game as well. You've seen the passing game open up as the running game has opened up with Gus as well. And it's because they have to stack the box more. Maybe a lot of Lamar's running yards were coming off of scrambles because everyone was covered. They weren't loading the box as much. Now they have to load the box. Lamar throws the most accurate ball in football right now, and it's leading to winning games. So yeah, our top three is the same. I don't really think there's too much to really debate about with our list here, but that's my top five.
I get it. The 49ers and Jaguars were both with a bye week. I do agree. I think Jacksonville is just better. Well, actually, I can't say they're better yet because they play each other on Sunday. So we'll make the prediction tomorrow. But with the injuries, I'm more confident in Jacksonville's defense to mess up Brock Purdy a little bit. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to stop that run game with Christian McCaffrey in there. Debo is coming back and all that. But I'm very confident in that Jacksonville defense that's very underrated to give Brock Purdy some problems. That's why I didn't really put him in the top five. I get it. Brock Purdy's only played 16 games. I understand. He's not an elite quarterback. He's a good quarterback that helps them win. I'm not saying he's elite. I'm just saying quarterback-wise, the reason why I put Jacksonville number 5 is because Trevor Lawrence obviously is better than Brock Purdy. And who do I trust more? Trevor Lawrence than Brock Purdy. That's why I had Jacksonville at number 5.
Yeah, but Brock's stats this year are kind of better.
I know the stats are better. I get the stats is better. I
agree. I'm not saying that Brock is better than Trevor. I agree that Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Brock Purdy. But statistically, Brock has played better this year.
Stats. I mean, I'm not going to out numbers. I mean, you're right. But I'm looking at it from a situational game point stand. Situational, fourth quarter, if you need something, I'm going ahead and I'm going to go take Trevor Lawrence. But anyway, this list is it's fluid, and I like this. I really do like the list. I guess you improved from last week. I guess when I randomly popped back out of nowhere. But no, it's a fluid list. This is it for Lambo and Matt's World of Sports. Tomorrow will be all NFL. All right, all NFL picks. Obviously, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to Totem Pole Nation. And if you need your merch, go to TotemPoleNation.com. Thanks to Our Sports Network for giving us the platform. But we will be back tomorrow for NFL content. There are some very, very great games. I've already put in a parlay between college and NFL. A $5 bet that could turn into $1,000 or a 13-pick parlay. My college ones probably would hit, but the NFL ones, it could be a little weird because, the NFL, some teams will play down certain competition. But we'll let you know tomorrow. Y'all have a great night. Please take care of yourselves. Adios.